Sweet, welcome everybody. My name is Pixelbera. This is our very first dev roundtable, so bear with us as we kind of work out how these are going to flow. Thank you all for joining us. Just wanted to kind of check in and give you guys some official updates with how things are going in the world of Baritone. So, I guess we've been pretty sparse with actual updates on the game. Icy's been posting some pretty good developer updates on our Twitter regarding things that are happening behind the scenes. So we have a bunch of our team with us here today to talk about things that are going on, some more specifics. We're going to try to keep each one of these a bit limited in scope so we can talk about a couple things and then save some things for next time. And we're planning on doing these about once a month, the last Wednesday of the month. So I hope you guys can join us for future ones, future developer roundtables as well. We'll be taking questions kind of near the end of this, but I prepared a slideshow of some things we want to talk about today. I think giving you guys kind of an overview of what has been happening since our sailcloth mint. Want to be honest with our community about kind of some of the things we've gone through. A lot of positive, really good progress, but a bunch of hiccups kind of right away. As some of you may know, we were partnered with Animus development team. We have since parted ways. We are no longer working with Animus in any capacity. So I've seen quite a few tweets and just informational posts that are not really aware of this. So all of our developers are now in-house working directly for Baritone now, as well as a brand new art team. We had some kind of hiccups with our art pipeline as well. And if you've heard me talk about Baritone at all in the past, I say gamers eat with their eyes, and we want Baritone to be one of the most visually striking games. So we've hired the absolute best art studio that we could find, Umashu Lovers, who, as I've talked about before, is responsible for doing visual development in a ton of huge products in the media landscape, such as games like Fortnite and Hollywood movies such as the Super Mario Brothers movie. They're incredibly accomplished, and I'm really stoked with how the art direction and the development has gone with Baritone. We're talking about our dev team a little bit. You can see them in the upper left of the screen here. We have Alex, Blue Violets, Eric, Gio, Russell, Todiki, and Toby. And these guys have worked together for a while. They just released a game called Elsie, which is published by Playtonic Games. If you guys have not heard of Playtonic, they are made up of many developers of the Banjo-Kazooie games on the N64, so a lot of ex-Rare employees that then started their own development and publishing company responsible for games like Yooka-Laylee. And we're super excited with how things have gone on the development end. These guys have shipped games before, and that was super important to us, to have a team that can see the entire development process and the pipeline through from ideation to a product on the market. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about a couple things. Wanted to show you this beautiful artwork that we have on the screen right now. This is a concept piece, a key artwork piece that Umashu Lovers have done for us. And to me, it's fascinating to see their methods. So on the screen right now, you can see on the left, we have their initial sketch of this piece. And then on the right, they did some color exploration. And this was all drawn in 2D. And these look great just to get the layout and the perspective and the aspect ratio correct. So we do all of our artwork square so that if we want to make it horizontal or vertical, we can crop it however way we want to for banners or for vertical content. And then after we do these 2D sketch explorations and color explorations, they will literally model the scene out in 3D, as you see on the left here. So it's some kind of crude 3D geometry of the scene. And then they'll do a paint over of that same scene using their signature Umashu Lovers style with beautiful foliage, very nice clouds. For a lot of our artwork, we're doing outlines on key objects and key characters to really make them pop against the background. So that's what we've done here. If you look at the bear, he has a little outline on himself to make him stand out. So this is just a little look behind the scenes about how our artwork comes together. Muju, we'll take questions at the end. For now, we're gonna roll through this slideshow, but hang on to your questions for later, and then we'll get back to you. All right? Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about two things mainly, and they're very big parts of the game, something that you'll be doing quite often, and that is chopping trees, axing, and mining rocks, smashing rocks with your pickaxe. So we've seen our trailer. Baritone is largely about collecting resources, using those resources to craft things, and then customizing your farmstead, and then also exploring a wide world. So around the world, you'll find various different tree species and various different rocks and gemstones that you can collect. So we wanted to show you a little bit behind the scenes about how these two aspects of gameplay have been developed, from the visual assets and then going into some of the tools and then showing you kind of some animations. So these were our original trees from our older art studio that we used for quite a while, and I think they're good, they're unique. This is what they look like in a 3D render. And then over time we went with a slightly more detailed texture on here. But as you can see, they're very stylized. They're not very realistic. As far as gameplay implementation, these didn't really quite work for us, and when you put a bunch of these in a scene, it didn't really look great. We also used, for the trailer specifically, we did a lot of exploration using different asset store packs before we hired Umashu Lovers and started making all of our assets ourselves. So this was just an overview of some exploration we did with various different tree types, different leaf textures, different color palettes, and different species of trees. And then here's a wider overview with the same thing, including some different rock textures, different levels of detail, different stylizations, different colors, etc. When we hired Umashu Lovers, we really got to start exploring our style more in depth, and they presented us with a lot of different directions that we can take our tree designs, which were very fun to experience. So you can see 3 of those here, very different. Icy, can you make this smaller just so we can see more of the slideshow here? Thank you. Don't want beautiful artwork to get cut off. So these were great. If you're going to be chopping down trees, we thought these tree trunks were a little bit wide. So we had them redo them with some smaller tree trunks that look a bit more natural when the bear is standing next to them and the bear is chopping them down, so that when you chop them, we are collecting the trunk in a way that makes sense and it's not 2 times more wide than the bear. We chose the left one for our initial exploration, and then started getting to work on colors, different textures, different bark patterns. So here's a look at some of those. You can see the swirly patterns and lines on the bark are very fun. Here's a bit of a different take on those with more of a round crown. Some more exploration there with this is very simple geometry and very simple textures. So we ended up going a different direction, eventually trying to add more detail, really trying to hone in on what our tree should look like, and we finally landed on something like this with a bit more individual leaves, big chunky leaves, which we loved. So we started going in this direction. Here's some very nice renders. And we love these trees. This is the tree style we ended up going with. And here's a couple screenshots of those trees in-game next to some bushes that are using the same kind of leaf style with some individual leaves. Here's a very nice render that you will find on our website with a bear playing the guitar, leaning up against the tree. We also have some palm trees, so here's a bit about the exploration on our palm tree design. Very fun. I think we ended up going with something kind of like the middle one. So here's a bunch of different shapes of that middle one. I'm going to start going a little faster here so we can get through. Got quite a few things to get through in the slideshow here. Oh, I suppose I should take this time. You guys are hearing some audio from the game right now. This is a song that our composer, his name is Eric, he's in the chat with us. He composed a beautiful song that we're using for the title screen. Yes, this is Pixel Bear talking right now. I'm super happy to have Eric on the team. We've spent a lot of time discussing the audio direction of Baritone. If you know, I'm a composer myself. I did the trailer music for Baritone, but my attention is kind of split between many different aspects of creative direction and just gameplay design and things. Making sure the team is on the right track. So I'm super happy to have Eric on the team. He has a lot of experience with Fmod and developing reactive and dynamic audio systems. So something that's really cool about the audio direction in Baritone, we have a lot of dynamic layers that will happen if you get close to certain things, or if it's different weather or different times of day, we can kind of introduce different layers to the music and have it kind of evolving as you play the game. Eric, I'm not sure if you want to shed some light on your composition or sound design process, or how our discussions have gone. Feel free to chime in.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric. Currently the audio director or audio person for the project. And yeah, you can hear the track in the background that I've composed, as well as a couple others. So for audio direction, we are drawing a lot of inspiration from prior games that we've all played and enjoyed, and some notable ones are we have Banjo-Kazooie, or we have Maple Story, for example. We also have some Animal Crossing in there, and so we're trying to congeal all these together while also offering kind of a new spin, a new take on it all. And we're putting a heavy emphasis on the game having a lot of dynamic layers. So I'm super excited to be on board. This is a new experience for me, and everyone on the team is super talented. So it makes my job really easy when I look at the game and it looks beautiful, and makes me really inspired to create some stuff. So nice to meet you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Rolling on with the presentation, we have some behind the scenes look at topologizing these palm trees, all the different polygons that our 3D artists have to do to make it run well in the game. This is a render of what they currently look like, in a very nice render for our website as well. Next, we got some pine trees. Similar exploration here, just trying to get nice shape language, nice silhouettes before we move on to texturing. Again, these follow the same kind of art pipeline that our original trees did, where originally there were very simple shapes, and then just doing some texture exploration, trying to figure out what we want them to look like, and then ended up going with something like this, where we have a bit more individual parts, and it's more, I think, a lot more pleasing to look at, especially when you see a bunch of them clustered together. We figure you're going to be seeing a lot of trees in the game, so we wanted to spend a lot of time to really lock in and make sure the trees are something beautiful. Here's a nice render of the trees on our website. So when you chop down a tree, you're going to, like I said, we're collecting resources in this game, so each different type of tree that you chop down yields a different type of wood that you can use to craft things. So along with concepting the full tree, we had to concept some logs. So this is some bundles of logs and the overall tree trunk that you'll chop down. This is untextured, and then we ended up kind of playing with some different bark textures to further differentiate the types of trees. You can see on the bottom left here, we got some different lines and bubbles, and then on the right one, we got kind of some checker patterns and squares. Very fun. These are the final ones we went with. So yeah, obviously in the game there will be a lot more than just these three, but I think we have a good base and a good philosophy to kind of design trees and design their barks moving forward. Make sure that they all stand apart and that you can tell what type of resource you have in your inventory when you're looking through the different tree types. Here's what they look like in game next to the bear. Little screenshot for you guys. Next, let's talk about rocks. So here was some initial concept for rocks, and I know this doesn't sound like the most exciting thing, but again, you're going to be seeing many rocks in this game. You're going to be mining many rocks, building many things with these rocks. So we wanted to make sure that they were appealing, and that we also have gems and ores that you can collect. So these are some pretty common game resources that you'll find: diamond, ruby, sapphire, copper, iron, gold. But I think they look very nice. These are done by Umashu lovers. Again, rocks are nice and shiny. They'll be very nice to look at in game. So these are 2D concepts, and then these are 3D. So we have a larger gemstone within a rock, and then you mine it, and it will yield these smaller bits that you can pick up, and that will get added to your inventory. Very exciting. Which rock is your guys' favorite? Mine? I like the diamond. So here's what our rocks look like in game next to the bear. And then here's all our ores and gemstones. So along with these 3D in-game assets, we also need to do 2D illustrations for our inventory. So here's a couple of the first sketches that we've done for rocks and logs for the inventory. And then here are the final ones. So when you collect something and it goes into your inventory, instead of just like putting the 3D asset in there, we did these more stylized 2D illustrations, which I think look quite nice. So when your inventory is all full of things, this is kind of the style of illustration that you'll see. So the two tools you'll be using mainly to collect wood, chop down trees, and mine rocks are the axe and the pickaxe. These are just some initial concepts that we've gotten from our first team. Very basic axe and pickaxe. When we hired Umashu lovers, we wanted to do something a bit more fun, so we had them start concepting new versions of these tools, and these are those tools. So they're a bit more raw, something that seemed like something you would craft early on in the game, made out of twigs, where you can see the leaves, and I love these. So similar to the foliage and the rocks, we went through a bit of a design exploration here. This is, if you look at some of these are very like honeycomb themed. Like the watering can has like a honeycomb motif. The scythe has like a honey dipper. The axe has a little bee on there. Very cute. Some more concepts without the honey motifs. And then some color exploration here. We weren't really sure about what kind of stone we wanted all these tools to be. So just playing around with different colors here. We ended up going with something pretty close to G down here for our first set of tools. So looking forward to seeing you guys use these basic tools to start farming resources in our upcoming demo build. This is the honey variation of these with color, just so you guys can see. This is probably something that you'll be able to collect and craft with either honeycombs or honey a bit later in the game. A little look behind the scenes of how they get modeled. So as you can see, a lot of our assets are pretty low poly. You know, we're developing the mobile version of the game in tandem with the PC version of the game. So and the fact that it's an online multiplayer experience, supporting quite a bit of players at one time, trying to really optimize and use stylization to our advantage so that it runs smoothly on everyone's machines, right? Here's a behind the scenes look at the texture map applied to all these tools. And then here is just kind of a scale test to see how big these different objects should be next to the bear. And if you guys notice, we do have a sword. We have not talked about combat whatsoever, but we do have a sword, so that should clue you in to the fact that we're working on it. Here's an in-game screenshot of what all of those model tools look like in an environment. And then another one. So we're super excited with how the art direction has been going. I think everything looks great. And then we also have a new animator that we've hired. If you've saw our Twitter post about hiring an animator, we're really stoked about the animator we were able to find. So we got some really juicy animations of Bear using all these tools, and new running animations, new jumping animations, and it all looks great. So here's just a little look at Bear using the axe, hitting a tree, hitting like a rock. You can see him kind of ricochet and then missing. Same thing with the pickaxe. Then we have some kind of overall screenshots of some test areas that we put together using all of our different tree types, some different foliage that we've created, some different buildings that we've done. Just giving you a look at what you can expect out of our environments. Oh, and then we have some concept art of some future tree designs that we will get to soon for other areas of the game. These are done by concept artist Todiki, who's in the chat right now.
Hello, nice to meet everyone.
Hello, Todiki. Maybe you can give us a few words about how you're kind of using the style that Umashu established to do these different concepts, because I think these are really cool and they fit in very well with the tree style that we have going.
Oh yeah, definitely. So for the most part, I really love the chunkiness of games like Animal Crossing. So I'm trying to kind of keep to that simplicity of detail and mostly like keep the shape language pretty chunky, but the leaves quite varied. And I feel like you can get a lot of personality and uniqueness just by varying the leaf shapes, the color. Yeah, and I guess, like you said, different biomes will have different kind of trees. Some trees might even have giant fruits on the top, like the concept in the top left. We're going to play around with the bark designs, the colors. Something like you saw earlier with the 3D models, and I feel like that's how I want to approach giving every biome its own identity. It's just having different symbolism to differentiate things. Yeah.
I also think the direction of the leaves makes such a huge difference too, because in our first tree they're all kind of draping, and then something like the orange maple tree up there, they're pointed upwards, same with the one on the left. And then this kind of round one, they're not really going any direction, it's just kind of in a sphere. I think that makes a huge difference too. And I don't know, there's a lot of fun things we can do while staying in the same style that we've established, right?
Exactly. So it's about the readability for me. That's like the autumn leaves pointing upwards. That could be for something we were planning, like a volcanic zone or some autumn leaf biome that we were
Yes.
discussing.
It's giving fire.
Yeah. And that does kind of lead into some other things we were talking about that we won't mention yet.
Yeah, we got a couple more here too as well. These are more kind of bushes, I think, right?
Yeah, so this is some shrubbery and trees and just a few more basic explorations.
Very cool.
I'm a huge fan of lilac and violet and those kind of flowers, so
Same.
I did like to experiment with the idea of like, what if we had a flower head on top of a tree, you know? Not so much foliage, but just an entire flower bulb on a tree. And I feel like that would be something that's quite fun to look at, quite readable.
So Todiki's been a huge help, not only with environment design, but with character design too. One of my favorite aspects of development is just brainstorming with Todiki and coming up with cool ideas that we then get to create and put into the game. So super excited to be working together. Love all these concepts, and I'm super excited for you guys to explore these locations and find these different trees and shrubs and collect everything you can.
Yeah, I'm really stoked.
And that is the end of my slideshow. So today we looked at a bunch of different trees, kind of the making of, and I guess something that I want you guys to take away from this is just how much work and consideration goes into something that you see in every single game, something like trees and rocks. They may seem very simple and very non-consequential, but we believe that a bunch of small details and a bunch of time and consideration put into these seemingly inconsequential things adds up to be a greater experience for the player. You know, it's kind of the sum of all these little things, the sum of all these little details that make you feel the care and the passion that we put into these games in baritone. So I hope when you guys are playing the game that you can feel all the love and the care that we put into all these small details and how much we care about you guys having fun. So with that, I think we can open it up for questions. We do have a couple gifts that we can share here. Speaking about rocks. And trees. So let me share my screen here one more time. So here we are chopping a tree. As you can see, the tree kind of reacts when we chop it, also drops some leaves when we chop it as well. You can get a little glimpse of some environment behind. And we also have mining some rocks, similar. We got some particle effects, we got the rock reacting. Very exciting.
And one thing that the community was requesting to see, which I will show you what it looks like, is the sign-in function. So this is the main title screen of the game. And this animation that we've created is just absolutely gorgeous. When you click sign in, this is what your screen will look like when you are accessing your baritone account. Okay, hopefully my sound is a little better now. Sorry about that. To repeat what I had said, this is what the sign-in screen will look like for players. You can see we've put a lot of time and care into making every aspect of the game truly beautiful and enjoyable. So we can't wait for all of you to be able to experience this for yourselves as well. We will open it up for a community AMA. At this time, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat. How this is going to work is I will show the question that we are currently answering on the screen. And so to start off, we have one. Oh, this is kind of, there we go. Got a little clipped off from the screen. Okay. The question is, do you guys use AI services for pictures somehow? Just curious if that's useful for you. Pixel, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, sure. Our team actually feels quite strongly about this. As far as artwork and art direction, we're very anti-AI. We want you to feel our vision for things and feel that human handmade touch. And I want you guys to be confident that everything that you see in the game is going to be handmade by us. And like I was talking about, having consideration for all these seemingly small details like trees and rocks. Every pixel in the game has been like carefully considered by us to make sure it's as appealing as possible. And we want to be making those decisions and not leaving it up to an AI.
You heard it here, folks. Everything you see in Baritone is carefully handcrafted from our team with love and care. The next question we have is for Todiki. They asked, Todiki, what tools do you use to draw?
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm actually quite excited to share that. So I have a strong background in 3D and 2D art. So my background is in environment art, but I have kind of put it upon myself to have a little taste of everything. And I mostly specialize in Blender and Clip Studio Paint. So for anyone wondering what that is, Clip Studio is kind of like Photoshop, but for people on a budget. And you can basically achieve the same level of quality. And I'm a strong believer in an artist who has one good tool can do many things. So if I'm not the kind of person who has like a million brush packs, I just have one brush that is very versatile. And yeah, that's how I like to approach things. And I do have different workflows depending on the type of concept art I'm doing. So if it's something that needs to be procedural or modular, I might sometimes do 3D blockouts and do paint overs of that. I find that really helps me get the proportions right, especially because we do want to be placing things and making sure they all fit together nicely. So yeah, thank you for asking. Very demure workflow.
Very mindful. Very demure.
Very thought out.
The next question that we have is, let me put it here on the screen. When we chop trees, will it be viewable on the outlook of that tree?
Yeah, so each tree, each rock has basically a different health value. You know, it's not, to put it bluntly, so like depending on what type of tree it is, it'll take either, 3 or 4 hits, depending on what kind of axe you're using and depending on what species of tree it is. And when you chop it down, it turns into a little stump, and then it drops a couple logs for you to pick up and add to your inventory.
We're really excited for you guys to see that progress as well. We've really put a lot of time and effort into making sure that all the trees you chop will be, like he said, viewable. The next question that we have is, will the game be available on Epic Games?
Epic Games, we are most likely doing, I think. Distribution is certainly something that we are looking heavily into. I think games like Genshin Impact, a lot of similar games will just do a downloadable exe from their website, and that's something we're planning as well. Or we might just link you to the Epic Game Store. Not quite sure about that. Kind of something we're a problem we're solving.
And to follow up, Mujul also asked, free or not free, Baritone will be a free-to-play game. The next question also given is, all the game is on Blender or Unreal Engine?
We are using Unity. So Blender is not a game engine. A lot of our assets are made in Blender, but the engine we're using is called Unity.
We love Unity. Wow, that could work in a lot of different contexts. Fantastic question. Thank you for asking. The next question from our community is, can you share any examples of what kind of quests we might see in the game?
Yeah, maybe this is a good question for Russell and the tech team.
Okay, yeah, so the questing is sort of based... Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I think your volume is coming through good.
Oh, I see. My wife is listening to the stream as well, and she said, I can't hear you, it's just because it's got a delay. Okay. Yeah, so the quests, we're trying to focus mainly on the familiar and the not so familiar. So you'll see a lot of collection quests, you'll see a lot of NPCs that have little cute stories to follow along with, but you'll also end up doing some pretty sizable adventures, I would say, that you'll kind of have to dive into and discover the mystery of, and I think it's going to be pretty fun.
We'll talk a lot more about quests in a future roundtable here.
And following up from that question is a question looking at the... Oh, this one is kind of long, so it's getting a little chopped here on the screen. Let me lower the size there. Looking at the sign-in UI, will we need to input emails and connect wallets, or Wallet Connect can get us a direct access?
Good question. I guess from a broader outlook, we're trying to make the crypto elements of the game as non-intrusive as possible. We want our game to be appealing to Web 2 gamers as well as Web 3 gamers, but certainly have Wallet Connect options for those who want to engage in that part of the game. As far as requiring an email address, that is how we have it currently set up for our internal play tests. Alex, do you have any thoughts on future plans for that?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Is my volume good?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so for login options, for now it's just email, but we will have more options in the future, like different OAuth options. So if you want to log in with your, maybe, I don't know, Steam account or even your Gmail or whatever, all that will be added in the future. For the Wallet Connect, I think this will be optional in the future. But yeah, we'll have multiple options, and if you guys have any other requests for more login options, I'm always happy to add more if requested.
Awesome. I'm so excited to sign in with my email to play Baritone. The next question, great question. Alpha on holders of the Founders NFT.
Yeah, so our first tests that we do for the public will be for our Founder Sailcloth holders. We're very excited about that. We really appreciate you guys believing in us early on when we did our Founder Sailcloth mint. And I think those funds enabled us to make a ton of progress on the game and make it into what you see today. So we're super excited about bringing you guys on and showing you what we've been working on and getting some feedback as well, doing some stress testing and making sure our back-end network systems can handle a lot of players at the same time. Difficult to give a date at the moment. I mean, things are going really well as far as building our first playable demo. We're working directly with Bearchain team as well, getting some feedback from them. We just want to make sure, we only really get one shot at a first impression of the game when we do make a demo live for everybody. So we want to make sure that first impression really hits the level of excellence that we want to showcase with the game. So it's coming soon. Thank you for your patience. I suppose I should also touch on, a lot of people will ask like when alpha and when beta, and these terms have very specific definitions in video game development. So when alpha means that we have all the features in the game complete. Alpha equals feature complete, meaning everything works. All the tree chopping, the fishing, the mining, the bug catching, all of that. And we're not quite there yet. So our first demo will be a pre-alpha, which means that subsequent demos will have more features that you guys can play with, which is pretty exciting.
Someone pointed out when I'm typing, it sounds like a cat is running on the keyboard. I'm sorry, I will try to mute myself when I'm not speaking. I do have a mechanical keyboard, and as you can obviously hear, she is quite loud. The next question that we have is, while playing baritone, will we get perks from other ecosystem projects?
We are being quite choosy with our collaborations at the moment. I think it's easy to start collaborating. I see a lot of projects in the ecosystem kind of just collaborating with anybody and everybody. So what's important to me is that we build trust in our community. We take care of you guys, and we give you guys the right incentives to play and reward you appropriately. So it's something we're certainly looking into. If you guys have certain projects that you would love to see us collab with, definitely ping us and we'll look into it. For the most part, as we've been building behind the scenes, we are kind of keeping to ourselves. And Icy's doing a great job with collaborations with other ecosystem projects as far as getting our holders whitelists for mints happening and things like that. We do have a couple really fun collaborations in the works with ecosystem projects and projects outside the Bearchain ecosystem as well, but we can't quite share details on those yet, but stay tuned.
You hear that, gang? There is more alpha to be had, so stay tuned. Next question is some roadmap. Is testnet in 2025?
As we touched on earlier, we'll have a pre-alpha build that will be for our sailcloth holders to test gameplay features and network stress test and things like that. Roadmap, we've always been looking at a 2025 more public release for everybody beyond sailcloth holders. Can't really speak too much on the Bearchain mainnet dates, as that's always kind of being pushed back, as I'm sure you all know. But we're working very closely with Bearchain to make sure that our timing makes the most sense in the grand scheme of Bearchain landscape as well.
And this next question we did touch upon, but I think it's great as a review. Is there going to be a test play?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've kind of answered that with the sailcloth holders getting access to our pre-alpha demo. That is certainly a test for gameplay features and our network infrastructure stress test, see how many players we can get in there.
Sailcloth holders are going to be the first ones to access our early demo builds of the game. So if you're interested in that, you know what to do. Now,
it's worth noting too that like anybody that is a sailcloth holder and does participate in these early demos will get some exciting rewards in the form of items and cosmetics for future builds of the game. When the full game comes out, you might get a special T-shirt or a special hat that says "I was there" for the pre-alpha sailcloth holder demo.
I went to the Baritone early playable demo, and all I got was this T-shirt.
Exactly.
So another question is, looking at how small the sailcloth collection is, are there plans to have a rebase, or would we incorporate other collections to play with us? Now, since the game is going to be free to play, it is not required to hold the Founder's Sailcloth in order to access our game. The Founder's Sailcloth will get you access to those preliminary demo builds, as well as a bunch of in-game perks. I don't know if you wanted to add any of that, anything to that, Pixel, or if I did a fair job at answering this.
So the question was about rebases and future collections?
Yes. And incorporating collections to play with us.
I don't... More on that soon. I think we have something really cool cooking, and we don't want to quite reveal it yet.
Alpha. So another great question that I see in the chat. Funding is really always a huge issue while building. Do we expect team to raise funds in some kind of way in the future?
Funding is extremely important. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I can really talk about the behind the scenes funding aspect of it, but we certainly have investors that are very great partners to us and that are going to be helping us a lot with questing platforms. So we didn't make an official investor raise announcement, but we did do a raise. I think we are doing another raise in the future. Something like Baritone, that is a very high production quality game, that is an online multiplayer game that requires like server costs and ongoing maintenance and ongoing content that we keep adding to the game for like seasonal events, and just adding more things for you guys to do over time, is a large ongoing cost. So games are not cheap to make. You see the size of our team in this chat. This is not everybody. So it takes a lot to make something like this.
And a follow-up to that, which I think is really exciting, a little bit more game specific, will the game use teleport from one place to another?
Very good question. We've talked about this quite a bit. And if any of the tech guys or design team wants to chime in as well. But we look at games like World of Warcraft that kind of introduced different ways of teleporting, where you have to hire someone to bring you from one area to the other and pay some in-game currency for that. I think fast travel takes away a little of the immersion, where, if you're trying to just rapid fire do quests, then it just turns into teleporting everywhere and doesn't really feel like you're a part of the game world at that point. It's just clicking where you need to go on a menu is not as exciting as actually traveling there. But that's something we can certainly take feedback from the player base. If everyone feels like the game is sluggish, traveling places on foot or on mount, then we can certainly look into fast travel options. I think there are solutions out there. If you look at a game like Final Fantasy XIV, charges you in-game money every time you fast travel, depending on how far away the fast travel point is, which, kind of incentivizes you to go there if you want to save money. So
we are
something
also
we're looking into.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. We are also designing the game around a very specific mode of transportation. So it might not be as big of a problem as people might think.
This is true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like alpha to me. A question that I'm excited about. I'm not sure how much we can give away at this time. Someone asked, when merch?
Ooh, good question. We certainly have merch coming. And I think you guys will like it.
We have a lot of ideas as well for merch. We've talked as a team about what we would like to see as the game continues to grow and develop. And there's not a doubt in my mind, as someone who loves merch myself, that you all will be very, very excited to see what we do have cooking. Sort of a funny question that I see here is, will there be a God mode in the game?
I'm not sure what you mean by God mode.
I think they may be referencing how in Minecraft there is build mode and creative mode.
Oh.
If you're worried about like the damage, like the combat stuff, there will be. This is a cozy game, and it will be very cozy. It won't be high tension. There won't be a lot of things trying to kill you all the time, things like that. But I think that stuff will be more of an optional. And it's an optional sort of addition to the game rather than being assaulted like in Minecraft where your whole house can get blown up. This is gonna be calm, and it's gonna be sweet and cute, and I don't think we need a God mode necessarily.
Yeah, I think something to consider too is a lot of the building and customization you'll be doing is on your own farmstead island. So every player gets their own little sanctuary that they can customize themselves, and there's not going to be any enemies spawning on your farmstead island. So you can really kind of take your time and decorate and customize things at your leisure. That being said, we've also had a lot of discussions about building and how it should work if it's something like a Minecraft God mode where you're kind of taking a bird's eye view and placing things as, you know, a player versus something like Animal Crossing where your character is physically pulling items out of their pocket and has to push things and rotate things into place themselves as the character. So that's something we've taken a lot of consideration into as well.
And a great follow-up from that question is, will it be an option to host games, play with only a few friends, etc.?
Great question. So a lot of the exploring you're going to be doing is in big online areas where you can see a lot of players playing at the same time. But as far as your own homestead, we're doing it similar to Animal Crossing, I guess you could say, where you can invite people to your island to hang out with you and give people decoration privileges. So if you want someone to be able to help decorate on your island, you can check a box. If you want to just invite someone to your island to look around, you can just not give them decoration privileges and then they can't screw anything up. But a lot of the exploration in the game, questing together and killing monsters together and exploring caves, that is all done in the shared online world. We also will have like a friends system, so you can register each other as friends and make a temporary party of a couple of your friends and explore that way. Yeah, Alex, I don't know if you want to touch more on that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just adding to what you're saying, yeah, the world is fully MMO. We're trying to bring all regions together to play within the same world, all split between shards. The homestead is where you're like localized to yourself and whoever you invite. There may be some things in the game in the future that you'll be able to play with just your friends. That's something we'll see later. Yeah, secrets. But yeah, it's MMO.
Now, it seems that to me that has concluded the burning questions that the community has. Again, I have tracked all of the questions that we've answered, so I will be assigning the tuned in role to all of our active bearers in the chat. Thank you guys so much for contributing questions to our AMA. And Geo, fantastic question. How is Wide Bara so wide? I think it's a mixture of honey and other sources of protein. He works very hard for his wideness, and especially on Wednesdays. Wide Bara Wednesday is a recurring community tradition where it just goes to say on Wednesdays we all make sure that we are extra wide than normal.
Ben Mack, you just got here. This will be saved to our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch the rest of the presentation if you'd like. And then, I think we do have time for one more thing. I see I'm sharing my screen if you want to show people. Russell earlier mentioned when we were talking about fast travel and teleporting, we talked about having kind of a specific mode of transportation. So we do have one last little thing to share with you guys. So you'll be doing a lot of sailing in this game, and we got sailboats working. Multiple people can travel on the same sailboat. Sailboat is something that you'll be able to customize with different sailcloths.
Me and my bearers just want to sail.
I think we're planning on maybe elaborating on this in the next meeting.
Yes, so next meeting, again, will be the last Wednesday of November, which would be the 27th of November.
One last little follow-up to the sales that I know everyone is so excited for it. Are there plans to have sailing competitions, or is that something that the team would consider implementing?
That's a good idea. I don't know if we've actually mentioned it necessarily yet, but thanks for mentioning it now. We'll talk about it.
The team is always open to feedback and ideas, so if you ever do have specific things that you would love to see in baritone, please feel free to ping us and let us know. We are always listening to our community, and we are working hard to make baritone enjoyable for everyone to the best of our ability.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if you want to watch or share with anybody, this will be on our YouTube channel. If you got any more questions, feel free to find us on Discord or on Telegram. Icy is very active there. Or if you have any questions for me, just ping Pixelbera, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. Thank you for your time, and we're really excited about what we're building, and we can't wait for you guys to play it. So we'll have some more details about the upcoming demo for our sailcloth holders. Any of the other kind of things we teased today, just be patient with us. These things take time. But we're all really excited and think we're building something great here. So appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you all very soon. As a final announcement reminder, the Halloween Trick or Treat community contest is still live for a few more hours. Tricks are memes, treats are art. There are USDC prizes as well as a fancy roll that you can earn if you do win one of the categories. So if you would like to get in those last minute submissions, please feel free to check out our Discord for more information on the rules on how to submit. Other than that, thank you everyone for joining our first Dev Roundtable. We will see you again at the last Wednesday of next month to share more updates and answer more of your burning questions. In the meantime, feel free to ping me or Pixelbera in the Discord or Telegram, and we're more than happy to be there for you with your ideas, suggestions, and questions. That being said, happy Wide Barrow Wednesday, everyone, and we'll talk again very soon.
Have a barrowful day. Bye bye.